Contact Report 543. But when we're on the photo book, then I would have a further question concerning what you have said on the 7th of July at the 542nd official talk regarding electronic books. You wanted yet to give a farther explanation after the end of the official talk, but unfortunately that was lost in our subsequent conversation.
Yes, I remember. To the explanation I wanted to add that the reading of electronic books for the consciousness activity and the physical brain is also extremely harmful. Namely, if by the reading of electronic data, only this is included, however not processed in good measure through intellect, rationality and logic, then slowly but surely there occurs a consciousness poverty and consciousness deterioration. There also appears, however, a gradual deterioration of the brain, in which case, a process of brain degradation occurs as well as an increasing body weight and uncontrollable aggressiveness and a gradual loss of intellect. Likewise, all of these negative phenomena forms also apply to all other electronic media of any kind, when the necessary consciousness work is transferred to this and there is no more determining self, controlling, logical, intellectual and rational consciousness activity. If it is consumed only through digital media and thus the consciousness-based work is neglected, then it leads to evil consequences, through which is occurring a general deterioration of the ratio, the memory, as well as the psyche in the body. Also arises a lack of ideas, a lack of motivation and lack of interest with regards to a general physical fitness and knowledge-based interests as well as regarding a good and upright mode of life, etc.
Does that generally apply for the electronic entertainment and information, thus also with regards to the Internet, Facebook, iPad, computer games, etc. and everything that exists in this regard and in the still-to-come future?
That is indeed the case.
Then one can indeed say that the human being of Earth through the digital media slowly but surely falls prey to stupefaction, is increasingly incapable of life and his or her brain, through a gradual shrinking smaller, is incapable of action, and the human being is ever dumber and stupider.
The disastrous thing can also be named in this form. It is not only electronic books that bring about the human consciousness and ratio-based damage, but regarding this, it is all digital information media, as well as all so-called game consoles are to be named. Through the diversity of digital media of all kinds, especially children and adolescents, as well as adults dependent on the mentioned media, are at risk. Step by step the life capability, the life endurance capability, the self-value, the personal choice capability, the thought and feeling world as well as the power of self-initiative wither through the whole thing. Everything in this regard will be strongly affected to such an extent that even the feeling for others, the sense of law and order and for fairness and righteousness shall lapse into a bad form. Thus emerges anarchy, unconcernedness, wantonness, contempt for life, loss of knowledge, loss of wisdom and lovelessness, and a bad out of control of good human nature aggression, even down to the conscienceless, reckless and a bad out of control of good human nature harming of the fellow human beings. From that arises also further factors of boundless irresponsibility and the endangerment or destruction of his or her own life or those of other human beings.
A real vicious circle, which however is not recognized and will not be taken into account. Therefore it is also not astonishing that from the digital media, more and more people fall ill in their consciousness, in their psyche, the body, and in many forms, even in disturbed behaviors, and that the human beings become always more obnoxious and aggressive, unrighteous, hostile and slanderous, etc., towards each other. A build-up of good interpersonal relationships doesn't have a chance. And when I think that also the unbearable disharmony regarding the music as well still plays an important role, simply because of the disharmonious ruckus and racket of the abused musical instruments, and in relation to the yelling, shrieking and howling of the so-called singers, then I see only an iota in it which is necessary in order to complete the disaster. Also, the whole sectarianism of the main religions and their sects still contribute immensely to this end, so that everything is ever worse. The religious sectarian deluded belief is indeed, since time immemorial, destructively puttering among the earthly humankind, but the majority, the religious and sectarian believing, are so dumb and dependent that the reality and its truth cannot be recognized. Thus the reality and its truth cannot emerge for the humankind, and consequently cannot be understood. There is no peaceful righteousness and equitably, neither for the individual human being nor for the whole of humankind through a religious sectarian believing and through prayer. Consequently, the human being of earth does not turn to the creational natural laws and recommendations, and therefore also not to the love, the feelings for others, and the peace, the freedom and harmony. Also, a religious and sectarian belief and an equally directed prayer does not bring about true fairness, as well as bring about no more wars and no more carrying out of terrorist acts. A belief and prayer in religious and sectarian form, however, also does not contribute to it that the human beings of earth liberate themselves of their hatred, of their falseness, of their pathological craving for revenge and retaliation, as well as their lovelessness, and neither of their avarice, selfishness and jealousy, not of their aggression, lies, cheating, calumnies, and of the all-around wrong behaviors, as unfortunately is so since time immemorial. For the human being to transform for the better and to powerfully put all good values into action does not require religious and sectarian belief and prayer, but the courage for reality and its truth and the courage for the initiative to turn himself or herself towards the creational natural laws and recommendations, and to live and act in accordance with these. But this requires a healthy motivation and a good will of each individual, which is lacking for the majority of terrestrial humanity. Indeed, primarily through the religious sectarian deluded belief, and the therefore accompanying false faiths. Should the whole thing change for the better and the good, then the reality and its truth must be recognized, courage be taken, and everything necessary and important for a change be put into action. This also means that despots, dictators, tyrants, and sect bigwigs of all kinds etc. be no longer tolerated, but are chased away or no longer even allowed to take the rudder. Thus it is also necessary that the peoples free themselves from these types of elements. Therefore through those agitators no oppression, no terror, no war and no more deceptions take place, and no more false teachings are spread, as no farther evil can be further caused, even in terms of the spreading of the religious and sectarian irrational teachings. Only the creational natural laws and recommendations alone should be observed and fulfilled, in which case, what also must be understood is that the creation is not a godhead, but a pure spirit energy that finds its manifestation in its natural physical laws and recommendations, and is existent only in this spirit energetical wise.
Pure, spiritual teaching, and that is a good thing. There is nothing more to say.